Greetings everyone, I am RSV. Today I'll be looking into the Cinquem weapons and discussing if they are best in slot. Now, from a first glance, they do look quite promising. However, one thing that will stand out about it is its potential is quite low, at 18% at level 1. While this means that it has a minimum scaling potential up to 21%, and that it could scale up higher than that, we do not know yet. However, let's assume that the worst case scenario is true, and that the potential only scales up to 21, gaining 1% per potential level. So let's quickly do the math. I'll be using simplified math in the video, so that way more people can understand it and understand what's going on. The full math breakdown will be in the comments below. So I'll be going through the Cinquem weapons against enemies with no armor, the Cinquem weapons against Gigantics, them at base potency, 21% potency on their potential, and after that I'll be comparing them to the harmonious weapon potential that the relics have. I think these are important points to make as they determine just how strong the Cinquem series is. So with my dialogue out of the way, all the math should be on the screen. From what we can see, the Cinquem weapons really fall off against random mob enemies out in the wild. Where enemies do not have armor, these weapons do not shine at all. Their potency stat is just too low for them to be viable, and this is consistent in all cases. However, looking at the Gigantics, we can see that they are fairly close. When the enemy's defense is high, they do comparable damage to the Relik weapon, and I think this is important. Relik weapons are very hard to get. In the next update, they may be a little bit easier to get if they drop in the new zones. If they don't drop in the new zones, they'll be harder to get as less people are grinding for them in the normal zone. So there'll be less supply for more demand because they will be still the strongest weapons, most likely. However, the Cinquem weapons have one advantage over the Relik series, and that is their abundance. The Cinquem series has been teased to drop regularly, and this means that getting a fixer augment on them will be more viable and easier to obtain. This is great because it means that they get the added boost of having an easily to obtain fixer augment for them that will push them ahead of the Relik weapons. Only against Gigantics, however. Mind you, no enemy in the game should have 0 armor here, and we'd have to calculate the armor values for everything to see where this weapon pulls ahead, to see just how strong this weapon is on its own. However, there is something else to consider about these weapons. While they are very competitive with Relik weapons, it is important to note that their potential might be really hard to grind out. They mention them requiring a large number of photon scales, and while they did say that they were now grindable elsewhere outside of South Retem, 150 photon scales is an insane number of photon scales. I believe you can get 5 photon scales a day. That means if you've been farming for every single day for the last 2 months, well, I'm going to assume it's been 60 days since Retem dropped. It hasn't, by the way, but that's 300 photon scales, and apparently potential 1 requires 150. That's a lot of photon scales. But we'll have to wait and see how difficult these weapons are to max out. Depending on this though, they could be the strongest weapons that the game has seen so far, or they could be just as strong as the Relik, and then we have a competitive option for fighting Gigantics. Note, however, that the Gigantics defense should be going up in the alien region, and this could push the Cinquem weapons above the Relics against specifically those enemies. Us, though our class is also gaining additional attack power, may counteract this as well. It is hard to say, and we'll have to wait and see that, and see once we get the actual numbers and work out what to do. I've been RSV. I hope my video was useful to you, and I will see you next time.